Sony in 2012 had lost money for 4 consecutive years. The company that invented the Walkman, the PlayStation, the Trinitron television had been so thoroughly disrupted by Apple, Samsung, and LG that it had become a case study in how premium consumer electronics brands lose relevance. Kazuo Hirai walked in with a mandate to save a legend. Let's audit what focus looks like when it's the only remaining option. Hello, my name is Todd Hagopian, the original Stagnation Assassin, the author of The Unfair Advantage and The Stagnation Assassin. But today, we're pulling the leadership file on Kazuo Hirai, the CEO from Sony from 2012 to 2018, and specifically the portfolio rationalization and operational focus decisions he made to stabilize a company that had been losing its identity for a decade. This isn't a tribute, this is a forensic audit. Let's see what he actually did. So let's look at the stagnation score. Back in 2012, Sony was 8 out of 10 on the corporate cancer scale. The disease was portfolio diffusion. Sony was competing in televisions and smartphones and music and movies and financial services and gaming and electronics, all simultaneously, with no segment enjoying the focused investment required to win decisively in any of them. The Walkman had not been Sony's last great product, the PlayStation was, but the PlayStation's success had been insulated from the organizational disease rather than reflecting its cure. So let's look at the forensic audit. What did Sony get right? Hirai's One Sony strategy was at its core an 80-20 matrix exercise at the enterprise level. He divested the Vio PC business, sold the television manufacturing business to a PE firm, exited multiple non-core categories, concentrating Sony's capital and management attention on gaming, music, film, imaging, sensors, and financial services. Still sounds like a lot. But the imaging sensor did pay off spectacularly. Sony's image sensor division, which supplies components to Apple's iPhone cameras, became one of Sony's most valuable and high margin businesses. This was not a new business. It was a business that had been under resourced and under prioritized within the diffuse Sony portfolio. Hirai gave it focus and capital, and then it compounded. That is the Karelin method applied to portfolio management. Overwhelming force applied exactly where the organization's genuine technical advantage was orchestrated. PlayStation 4's launch under Hirai with a developer-friendly architecture designed specifically to correct the PS3's notoriously difficult development environment was a concrete product decision that rebuilt Sony's gaming dominance. He didn't just cheerlead the gaming division, he approved the architectural decisions that made the PS4 the fastest selling console in history at launch. But let's look at the murder board. What did Hirai get wrong? Sony's smartphone business, for example, Xperia, continued to consume capital and management attention throughout Hirai's entire tenure without ever achieving sustainable competitive position globally. The decision to maintain smartphone competition against Samsung and Apple, despite the structural disadvantage that Sony faced in both manufacturing scale, software ecosystem, was a persistent drag on capital allocation. The mobile business represented exactly the kind of organizational sacred cow that required slaughter, a category where Sony's brand recognition was insufficient to overcome its cost and ecosystem disadvantages, and Hirai never delivered the decisive exit that a true 80-20 analysis would have demanded. So the stagnation verdict, 3 kills out of 5 here. Hirai did stabilize Sony, made the right portfolio rationalization calls in several categories, and deserves credit for the imaging sensor and PlayStation decisions. The Xperia persistence, however, cost him a kill. It's a specific example of the incomplete 80-20 application that leaves the vampire many still feeding when the vital few need every available resource. Study Hirai for enterprise portfolio rationalization, but then he needs to finish the job that he started. That's the forensic audit on Kazuo Hirai and Sony. Make sure to grab The Unfair Advantage and The Stagnation Assassin on Amazon. And remember, partial portfolio rationalization is better than none, but complete portfolio rationalization is better than partial. Don't leave the vampire alive because it used to be your favorite character.